everybody thinks they've just discovered gut health. You just made the point that no, everything that's old is new again, because gut health has been talked about long before. We may know more scientifically now than we did then, but they instinctively knew that gut health, brain health, it all starts right there in the gut.
Totally. Well, and it's always so interesting to me to see so many people write off Chinese medicine. Meanwhile, they'll jump to something that's just come out from the pharmaceutical industry. And I'm like, you know, we might not have double-blind studies on Chinese medicine. It doesn't really honor the medicine to do that. Like, we have different patterns for everything. So like, say my son has seizures and somebody else has seizures. It's a different pattern. They're different people. They present in different ways, as we're seeing with the virus, whatever. Like, everybody's presenting with it differently. Some people are having lung issues. Some people are having long-term cough. Some people are just having runny noses. Some people are having nothing whatsoever. Like, Chinese medicine honors that individuality, so we don't fit into the mold of Western research. However, you know, we've had millions of doctors doing research for thousands of years. To write off all of that evidence and all of that research is just foolish in my perspective.
But Chloe, it's not been published in a journal like JAMA or American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, so it's not valid. Like, that's so stupid. Like, I get it. We want to honor the research, and we want to not jump to conclusions so that people don't do the dangerous things. But if you're a clinician, and and you see patients and you're helping them, and you see patient after patient after patient with X chronic disease get better, or this thing gets better, or you see the same pattern in all your patients, how do you not make this correlation that, maybe what I'm doing is causing all of those positive benefits?
Well, and also it's like, I've treated patients for, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years now. Like, if I'm being truly honest, and I never like to make claims like this because I'm very careful about what I say, because I have to be, because I'll get my ass shut down. Yeah. But like, I personally have not seen any chronic disorder, any disease state that somebody has come to me with that has not responded better to holistic medicine, Chinese medicine, diet and lifestyle interventions than to what they're going to be offered in the Western paradigm. And again, like, I wish and I hope that we work more towards a place where we can, I forget what it's called, but it's like integration doesn't seem to totally make sense to me with the two, but there's a way in which we can work side by side with mutual respect for each other. And like, if a patient, needs pharmaceuticals or stitches, like, yes, we do that. And if a patient needs, more mind, body, awareness and all of that, then, we can work together side by side. It doesn't have to be integrated. Like, we don't need to make Chinese medicine, like in the hospitals now, there are a lot of Western MDs take like 100-hour course and can now do acupuncture, which is ridiculous. I took like a 3,000-hour course in my doctorate to do acupuncture. But so they do acupuncture, and really it's just protocols. You know, so they really don't understand anything in terms of the true beauty and strength of the medicine. So it's really, really hard. But again, I don't want to be practicing Western medicine, but I will refer out regularly, because I also have deep respect for my patients first and foremost, but also for the medicine that they do have.
So let me clarify what I meant by integrative. I didn't mean in the same person. Yeah. I meant in an office setting, you're going to have mainstream traditional doctors that respect Chinese medicine and other Eastern medicine that respects what the medical doctors in the Western world do, being under the same roof. And I even throw like even psychiatrists and therapists in there, and having this totality of all health under one roof, respecting each other, respecting the patient and what they actually need. Oh, okay, this one is showing the signs of insulin resistance and headed towards type 2 diabetes. Let's go send them to a diabetes educator that understands all the ways to treat it, not just with medicine, but in diet and other ways. And so that to me is the future of healthcare. How that works or what that looks like, I don't know. But it does seem the allopathic care has to stop vilifying people like you because you're doing great work in your arena. And even a lot of mainstream doctors, they throw their hands up in the air and they're like, well, I don't know how to fix you, so go see that quack doctor that's doing that keto thing. I know Dr. Westman, who I co-authored a couple of books with, Dr. Westman's always talking about that doctors will send him patients that they're just exasperated with. He's like, yeah, send him to Westman. He does something. I don't know what he does, but he fixes them. And so
that happens all. We get patients. I'll get patients. So my favorite patient, I love to study and I love a challenge. So like my favorite patients are the really, really complicated ones. So it breaks my heart because patients will come to me and they'll be like, I've been to 20 different doctors. I've had this chronic thing going on for months to years, and they think it's all in my head. And so like the first and foremost thing, I'm like, I believe you when you say that this is going on in your body. Like just because a Western medical test does not give you a definitive diagnosis does not mean that this is all in your head. And even if it is all in your head, like it's still happening. Like I don't, you know, like that makes no sense to me, first and foremost. Second of all, like with Chinese medicine, it's always funny because people will be like, oh, I've gone to every doctor and now I'm going to try you. And then half the time they'll give you like one treatment session with you and they'll be like, it didn't work. And I'm like, dude, I'm not a magician. Like this takes time. Like, you know, I can help your pain. I can get things shifted in an hour. However, in terms of like, again, fostering that long-term health, that takes a little more than one treatment.
Well, that's a product of our society too, Chloe, because we've been promised microwave of everything in society, and people think medicine works the same way. And if I often tell people, if you took decades to damage your body, it might take a decade to heal it.
Absolutely. We normally, in Chinese medicine, a lot of times we look at it like, how many years have you had this? Then it'll take about that many months to undo some of this damage, like as a rough estimate. But, you know, as you know, it's like if you're not going to make the shifts in terms of diet and exercise, you know, I work with a lot of complicated neurological conditions and I'm like, cool. So you got to get on the ground and start crawling. You've got to like optimize your diet. You've got to do all of these things. And everybody's like, what? I'm not doing that. And I'm like, I can tell you what's going to help. I can't make you do it. So at the end of the day, that's on, you know, like that's up to you. I can explain why I can, you know, like, but you know, we all have to make our own choices and fight for our own health, which unfortunately, in our society where we're riddled with toxins and stress and all of that, like we do all have to fight for our health. We all have to be proactive about it, no matter how healthy we are.
And unbeknownst to people, like I remember about a decade ago, I got a heavy metals test and it came back that I had aluminum off the charts, like 5 times higher than it was supposed to be. And I'm like, what the hell? And it turns out my underarm deodorant had the aluminum in it, and I was oblivious to it. And I was in the health world. Up to the diet world was most of my focus, but when that happened and I noticed that, I got a lot more interested in some of the lifestyle things, like what's in the air, like 5G, like underarm deodorant. Thankfully, I found a really great one now, and it's wonderful, and that toxicity has come down. But people, they don't know. They just, if you don't know, you don't know. But they go about life oblivious. They go to stores, they buy all these conventional products, not knowing that when they rub it on their skin, it's getting into their body as if they ate it. It really is an education process, and I'm sure you're doing that all the time with your patients.
Yeah, no, it's hard because I think people, you know, you want to trust that A, your body can handle whatever's coming your way, and B, like I think there's some sort of belief that there's somebody making sure there's not toxic stuff on the market, you know, like there's some sort of faith that like the FDA or the CDC or like somebody's sort of looking out and testing these things. But like, who is it? Dr. Gonzalez does a great job of breaking down different products and how, and their level of toxicity. I mean, there's so many things that are allowed in America that aren't allowed in other countries.
Oh.
And as we see the health of our country just decline and decline and decline,
yeah,
you know, like it's like we need to wake up to what we're doing, what we're putting in our bodies, and you know, again, it comes back to the gut health. So that was one of the things that I was fascinated about with CBD was that it really, so one of the things that's really cool is, so CBD potentiates multiple different pathways in the gut. It modulates the immune system of the GI. So if you have hyperimmune response in the gut, like if you're having like Crohn's or IBS, anything like that, CBD is going to help modulate that. It's going to help with peristalsis and regulating that. It actually helps regulate. A lot of people think of marijuana and think of getting the munchies, but it actually helps regulate your hunger and tells you if you're full or satiated. But what's really cool, which I find really nerdy, is CBD actually potentiates Akkermansia, which is like one of the hot probiotic strains. But there's been research on Akkermansia for helping both with epilepsy and with MS.
Yes.
And there's also research showing that the keto diet potentiates Akkermansia as well. So that was one of the things I thought was really fun. And then another thing that's also really cool and just great for everybody is that there are CBD receptors along the vagus nerve as well.
Yes.
So it's really helping with all of that stress, that rest and digest, and like the whole gut-brain axis.
Yes, yes. And then adding in the Chinese herbs, it just, there's such healing that takes place when you find the right mix of things. Like right now, I'm doing a mix of a bunch of different biohacks. I think I told you about some of the things I was doing at the conference with red light therapy and sunshine exposure and grounding, vibration for the lymph, moving the lymph, sauna, ice baths. I'm doing all that stuff along with my nutrition and some fasting, purposeful fasting in there. You know, and it's great because synergistically, all of those things working together is far better than any of them individually. And I see the same with CBD, keto, Chinese herbs. It seems like if people can find that right mix, which is what you do as their clinician, they can heal and heal faster than they ever could on allopathic care. I think allopathic care just, it's sad. They want to say, well, diabetes type 2, it's a progressive disease that will never get better. Keep taking more and more meds. And I'm thinking, gosh, remove the thing that's exacerbating the problem and it won't progress.
Yeah. But it's, you know, again, it's that quick fix. But it's, you know, again, I can't stress it enough. Health is made in the choices that we make day in and day out. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm very strict about the things that I put in my body, the things that I put on my body, you know, especially now with a son with special needs who's hypersensitive to everything. You know, if Remy has too much sugar or gluten, he'll have seizures or tremors, you know. So like, you know, am I putting lotion on my kid? No, I'm putting organic coconut oil on his skin, you know, because if I'm not going to put it in my mouth, I'm not going to put it on his body, you know, like, so I'm just way more hyper aware. I mean, and also I agree with the Wi-Fi. I think that that's an underappreciated issue when it comes to both development in utero and then in children with special needs, because it's activating those calcium channels in the brain, which are, you know, obviously very important when it comes to epilepsy and neurodevelopment. So there's just so much that still needs to be teased out. So it's like, why don't we err on the side of caution? Why don't we go back to the things that were once working, you know, which are getting back to nature. And I think that that's one of the things about herbs that I love so much also is like in our society, we have this like severe disconnect from nature, you know, and so bringing back Chinese herbs, or not bringing it back, I certainly am not claiming to be the one doing that, but like, you know, getting back to Chinese herbs, to herbal medicine, to that innate wisdom of nature and bringing that internally into our bodies through high quality, clean supplements, and, you know, starting to learn how to use herbs to heal, using herbs in diet. You know, that's how I really got started. I love food. So I was like, cool. So cinnamon does what? And like, you know, licorice and, you know, Chinese yams, like there's a whole Chinese nutritional therapy program, and it's really, really cool.
So Chloe, educate us a little bit, because a lot of people have heard about CBD and obviously they know about keto from my work, but a lot of people don't know about the Chinese herbs. Talk about some of the popular ones. Like I know a lot of the adaptogens and things like that, but what are some of those herbs that you infuse into your products and use with your patients?
Oh man. So in Chinese medicine, we have, just to give a little background. So if you're going to a LAC or an MSOM, a Doctor of Chinese Medicine or a Masters of Chinese Medicine, that means that they have at least 3 years of a master's program. And in that 3 years, it is the course equivalent of 4.5 master's degrees or 2 law degrees.
Whoa.
So just a heads up, we study hard. This is not just like a, you know, little whatever. But no, it's a lot of people just assume that it's like a certificate, and it's like, no, this is serious medicine that we're studying, and we all take it very, very seriously. But so we have about 350 herbs that we use commonly.